No, I didn't say that. I said...
Yeah, but I said... Oh, shit. Hold on a second here. Let me get... Oh, shit, we're recording.
What?
I said, oh, shit, let me grab this. And I looked over. I'm like, oh, we're recording already. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Get the good stuff.
What'd you grab?
The drink. And then I moved the chair that you don't like. I haven't got a new one yet. So I was like, you know what? I don't even want to tempt myself. Just make sure this thing stays
Bring that to the next get together that we have. I'd like to light it on fire in the middle of a field.
Dude, it's crazy how much some of these chairs cost nowadays.
It's amazing how much noise all this stuff makes.
Yeah, I know.
I had no idea how much noise it made until you put it in the same room as a microphone.
I did find a cool corner desk, though. I'm going to get for the room. I'm going to have a desk. It's
nice. Awesome. What room are you going to put it in?
The bedroom.
You can put it in a bedroom?
It's same. It's the only place to put a desk. It's
is that aren't you currently hubbed on top of like your dresser?
Yeah, with the laptop. The mic boom on my
on the headboard. How big is the corner desk?
It's so God, what is the measurements on it?
I mean, I suppose we can skip the fluff. What I really want to know is how this conversation went with Amber.
Oh, well, it's my side of the bed, so.
Do you draw the line down the middle of the back seat?
No, she has her side. Well, you guys have what? You have your what? Whoever's on the left, whoever's on the right. That's like your kind of side of the bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I make my messes on my side of the bed. But
that's what it'll be.
Nonetheless,
I'm pretty much I'm losing my nightstand, and I got to take my guitars and my amp. And what else is over here? And my helmet, and then figure out where the helmet's stick it all. So that's going to be the new adventure.
Well, I guess when you get to be a certain age, nobody cares anymore about the symmetry of the room, because I feel like if I tried to remove my nightstand and put something clever over there in the corner, that I'd get a talking to.
Amber's the one that actually suggested it.
You need to get a room. You need to take.
I need a bigger house, but I need the interest rates to go down first.
You got a big house. You got a nice.
Where am I going to put it?
Just kick Amber out of her eBay room.
I would put it down there, but that's a wide open room where you'd hear the kids screaming 24/7.
Just tell them that they have to practice solitude and quiet time.
Sure, I'll tell that to a 9-year-old.
Just challenge them.
I'll challenge them.
Challenge them. Go outside and play.
Yeah. It's 10 o'clock, kids.
It's 10 o'clock.
Run outside.
10 o'clock. Go outside and play.
I'll call you in around midnight. The security shows up. Are these your children? Maybe. What'd they do?
They took your de-weeder and they were 3 houses down.
Okay, here we go.
It's entirely too late for this.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast, where Posey, AJ, and Jamie ignite your passion for pyromusical show design while testing the very limits of your capacity for stupid.
Welcome to the Rhythm Pyro Podcast. You're going to have to lower your standards because I'm Bo and that's AJ.
Hola.
And there is no Yemi this week.
No Yemi.
There's no Yemi this week. We're smart idiots who enjoy fireworks when we need a soft spot for the modern pyromusical. This podcast is a place we get together, talk shop, fireworks, art, share some tips, tricks, news, and insights with you. If you want to continue to support this nonsense, go check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Rhythm Pyro. Go join the Discord. There's links on the Facebook page. And thank you for a stellar community so far.
It's really blown up.
Like-minded miscreants. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's fun when you go in, everyone's fun. You see all this stuff that's written. You're like, oh my God, this is great.
I thought it was
pure
right. I thought it was hard keeping up on Facebook Messenger with like 3 people in the chat. It adds a whole new element when you have 40 some people in one text channel. But do you like that? Do you like the suggestion bot?
Yeah, that actually was pretty cool. People vote on it and it takes it to the actual room. So that way it's like, here you go. It's like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was. It took me a hot minute to figure it out. I actually sent a service ticket in to the company that made the bot. I was like, hey, I can't figure out why it won't let anybody click on the thing. And after 2 or 3 rounds of back and forth, the guy's like, yeah, here's the deal. You're approving it. And then after it's approved, then that's it. Like nobody can vote on it after it's approved, you idiot. So I was like, oh, you mean I got to set the first room that it pops up in as the part? He's like, yeah. Okay. All right. I got it. Fine.
Sorry about the decline on that one. A finger slipped.
Oh, what?
You're like, did you just decline that? I was like, oops. Well, yeah, as soon as I did, I'm like, oh, that wasn't important.
It freaked me out in the test channel when I put it up. I was trying to figure out how everything worked. Because there's like 3 layers. Once something's propped, it goes into a channel of your choosing. And then after it's approved, then it goes to another channel. It either goes to an approved channel or a declined channel. And where I was confused is I thought that as people submitted stuff, it needed to be, like moderated or approved. And then it went out and then people could vote on it. But that's not the case. The whole point is it goes straight for everybody to vote on, and then like the approve and reject things pop up. But when I was testing it and you did the thing and then it wound up in the decline channel, I was freaking out because I'm like, I didn't hit a button. I didn't hit any button. I just put that thing there not 10 minutes ago and now it's gone. So does this mean that like it cools down and then it shuts itself off and deposits itself in the trash after, so long?
Yeah, you texted me that and I was just about to text you and be like, hey, I hope that wasn't important.
My bad, yo.
Sorry.
My bad, yo. Big thank you to our supporting members so far: Jason, Novice Pyro, Brandon, David, Nate, Canada, CJ, Jeremy, John, and AJ. You're all lovely. Thank you guys for the continued support.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. Thunder Over Louisville was this past weekend. So when Jamie said that he couldn't come out, I actually extended an invite to Chad because I know Chad went to Thunder. So I think it's like I had everything queued up and it was kind of ready to go. I texted Chad last minute. I was like, hey, I know you went to Thunder and AJ and I are going to, we're thinking about doing a choreography review. You want to come on? And he called and for like a half an hour, he's like, I took all my stuff here. We're doing this thing this weekend. So I took all my audio gear here. Let me root around the house and see if I got a mic. And like all 20 some of his mics are not at his house.
Yeah, he's doing sound for his daughter's school, I think it was. I was talking to him. He was playing with a bunch of stuff.
So from what he said, he'll do, like, as long as you ask, he'll just do the sound for it. So just ask.
Oh, don't say that out loud. Skywars will call him.
He's the epitome of, I know a guy.
Yeah. He's the guy you want to be friends with. That's close by. You're like, can I borrow your sound system?
I just got to learn how to say no. Until then, I will help you get there quicker.
So he didn't want to use, I had no mics.
I told him to call in on the phone or something. And he's like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Well,
it would have been cool to have somebody who was there to get their actual perspective of, actually visually seeing it instead of seeing it on the, on a screen.
Yeah. Admittedly, I wasn't there. I've been several times in the past, and it's a really cool site. A couple of barges, and they got the bridge right in the middle. I can't remember what bridge that is. Oh, God.
I don't know either. But it is, like you said, it's a pretty cool setup because there's a lot of stuff that you could do with that if you spent the time.
Well, I think it's the Clark Memorial Bridge that they shoot that off of, actually. I pulled the map up here. But, for what that show is, if you think about the budget, and, first off, I want to thank Peter G for this topic idea. He emailed in and he was like, hey, love to hear you guys' take on Thunder Over Louisville's choreography. And I was like, you know what? That's a really cool idea. because like these kinds of shows, I believe they kind of exist in a space where it's totally in between a traditional municipality shell show and like a competition show. It's neither of those things. And it shouldn't really be classified as either of those things. So it kind of exists somewhere right in the middle. But that said, it's a really cool show in the way that it progresses. They do lots of really cool things off of both barges. I think all of the barges have always been mirrored. Yeah. And then you've got the bridge in the middle. And, you know, I could really tell watching this year's show on video. Now, for all of the videos that I did watch, I don't know. I mean, that one that you sent.
That's the only one I found with audio.
Yeah, it's the only one where you can kind of remotely hear the audio on it. But, you know, you have to take into account how far the audio sources are from whatever camera or whatever microphone is picking up the sound. Of course, everything's going to be off to a degree, just depending on how close you are to your source audio. But I guess let's go top down when it comes to choreography. You know, if obviously a site that monstrous and that big, it's probably a dream for a lot of designers to have that much fundage.
Playground.
Yeah. And then that much space to work with, especially a really cool venue like that.
And a budget like that. Oh, could you imagine doing something like that though? It's the work on the bridge, I think that would be the biggest change. That's insane.
There was a lot of volley work when it came to like color coordination throughout the show. And I think it's like it's a really tried and true approach to choreography. You know, you can't go wrong sending up volleys of the same shell throughout the entire show. Like I didn't see a ton of...
It's clean. Yeah.
Yeah. It's extremely clean. And I would imagine, I got to thinking about this too, because the show is as big as it is, how much like logistics have to play into that as well. You know, with a budget that's that big and a site that's that big, it's got to be easier for the designer to pull from product stockpiles and kind of divvy things out cleanly. You know, oh, okay, I got 15 cases of this kind of shell, and I know that all 15 cases go to each barge, because the minute that you start kind of breaking that stuff up, it's logistically more difficult to get your product to all of the different positions.
I'm trying to think though. I don't remember seeing a whole case of certain shells going up. I don't know. I was trying to figure out what size shells were actually going up. They all seemed about in the same height. There was a couple that went a little higher, but I was having a hard time thinking, are they all the same size, or is there two sizes? I mean, could you tell a difference? Like I saw like the size of the break, but not the height was really different.
The height in which they broke stayed about the same. I've never measured that site to see what kind of fallout zone that they have, but I would imagine it's somewhat constrained.
You got me curious, so now I got to look. Let's see how long that bridge is. What'd you say the name of it was?
That's the Clark Memorial Bridge.
Memorial Bridge.
So it's a Zambelli show. Did I ever tell you I got to walk the bridge a number of years ago?
With all the pyro setup?
Yeah. Yep.
I did not hear that.
Yeah. But we went down as a club, and one of the members hooked up with the Zambelli guys, and they were like, hey, can we get a tour of the bridge? And they took us out on the bridge. And what I thought was really cool, I believe at the time they used Fire One to shoot the show. I don't know if that's the case now.
I saw that video I gave you.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
Yeah. You were doing some offhand research on stuff and like watching some of the interviews. Did they say what firing system they use?
Yeah, nothing that I saw. That's what I was looking for. And I was also like, because I've only watched them here and there.
Yeah.
So to look at what we were going to talk about tonight, I was like, you know what? I better go back and look at some of the other shows to kind of see if there's, something I can differentiate between the two of them. But it was cool, like I watched a couple of interviews with the Zambelli family to try to get in their heads, like something they thought of or something, the way they describe things. God, I'm trying to remember if it was this year or last year. They actually had two other people that don't work for them script a show. So it was like a guy in Florida and the other guy was in Canada.
Oh, no kidding.
Montreal. Huh. That was what it was.
Very cool. The year that we went, I was like, hey, how many, how long does this take to set up from beginning to end? Like, when do you start? And you know, how, like, what's your resource head count? They were like 8 dudes, 5 days.
What?
Yup. And this was years ago, but it was still a big show. Like, comparative to what I saw in the video from this year, still an insanely large show. I couldn't believe that he was like, yeah, eight dudes, 5 days. Like, that's crazy.
I couldn't. Can you imagine the time it takes just to get, well, I don't know. I've never seen how they do the barge thing, but I'm guessing the barge, they load everything on the dock kind of area, and then the barge goes out to that area because they can't start matching it until they're in the middle of the, until they're in the middle.
Well, they prep downriver. When we did the tour, it was pretty early in the morning. They had the bridge completely, you know, the bridge is completely rigged up. And they had like two of the guys doing the bridge total, and the rest of the guys were on the barges doing all the work. But the barges weren't in place yet. They didn't pull those in until later on in the evening. But it was all downriver. Like, they had there's a blind spot or something where they, you know, determined as a protective area. But I mean, all of that stuff is prepped and matched and dropped while they're in that holding area.
God, I don't know. I saw the video that they were dropping stuff. It was last year, right? Mm-hmm. It was 22, I think it was. But they had they kind of did it where they had the truck. They come up with their one shot, and it was in those boxes where they just have everything ready to go. Pull the box out, grab the rack, drop it down where it's got to go. But there was at least 6 guys on the bridge doing that then. Yeah, I just still can't believe that 8 guys. That's a lot, dude.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like that's a huge friggin' workload for that body count.
Just the racks alone.
Yeah, right.
To unload and load one of those and then have to set everything up. God, it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't imagine the queue count. I wish we could find that. That'd be pretty cool. But after what we just did at Skywars, I mean, that was, why do we have 14 people? God, I couldn't imagine just 8.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And then comparatively, when it comes to,
hold on, did they say 8 guys as in like 8 guys, 3 shifts, or 8 guys, 2 shifts of 12?
Yeah, no idea. Absolutely no idea. I don't know. It's fireworks, dude. Everybody they get up and then they live and breathe this stuff days, and then hopefully you get 2 months off. But what do you think of the choreography throughout the show this year?
I liked it. It was cool to watch what they did on the bridge. Like, that's what I focused on the most. Cause like you said, the barges are mirrored. So watching how they use the shells, like you said, where it's clean because they use the same effect, but then they match it with something after that to kind of, you know, complement it. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to see what they did with the bridge to kind of like intertwine the center section, I guess. Yeah. And there's a couple things they did on there that really, like, when they did it, I'm like, hey, that was pretty cool. I don't know if you saw or watched it. Did you see the strobes where they lit up the whole thing? Yep. I had that written down. That's like the 6-minute mark when they had that EDM song going, and they had like the red strobes that it's really cool because you see that low level effect on every single launch platform, including the bridge. But what I thought was really cool was, like, right on measure in the song, they would throw up like those red photo flashes in the low mid. I thought that was really cool. I was trying to tell, were those shells or was that a cake? I would think it's a one shot, almost like a cluster. All right. Either that or they broke up a cake. Typically, these big display companies, they don't really break stuff up much. It's, you know, they'll use the product just as they get it. Yeah, right. It appeared to me, watching it based on the music feed that I could hear, that those clusters, I'm assuming they're mines. I'm just taking a wild guess, but like they were popping right on measure, like right on that first beat of the measure. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, that part really interested me. That was like one of those glitter moments where you're like, oh, that looked really cool. Yeah. Did it feel during that segment, because they had the white strobing peonies in the high level, I felt like, and I guess this is kind of a theme throughout the show, one that I understand
because of the nature of the show. But because there's this constant stepping of shells throughout the show, especially in that segment there, where you're drawing attention to like the super low level and that low mid, but then you've really got nothing in between the low mid and your high where those shells are breaking. I felt like it was a little disembodied at times.
What do you mean by disembodied though?
Disembodied. So like,
you mean it took away from the other section of it? You mean
there's nothing that's really linking the two verticals together. Even those clusters that went off on the bridge, they only get up so high before you're still not close to your high vertical in the shells. It would have been really cool, I think, if you had things happening in the low level, and then on measure, maybe you pop those strobe clusters, but then something happens where you're building either that or you use shells that have tails on them that kind of link those two sections together, and to kind of like, one, to break up the, for the lack of a better word, the monotony of just the constant stepping of shells, but also to do something to try to tie those different verticals together. So it feels like it's breathing throughout the segment.
That was actually one of the things I noticed. Like I said, I watched the bridge a lot because I was like, that's the stuff I like, or we like the one shots and stuff. So I was really trying to see how they would tie that in with the barges. And there was a couple times where I was like, there's so much ability with that bridge to be able to like, could you imagine like chasing as an outline and like coming down across to the barges, wrapping the barges in like a round circle and then coming back up, firing everything at once? Does that make sense?
Because you're talking about like doing runs on the bridge that kind of extend out to the barges.
Correct. So like imagine like from end to end, you go from the end of the bridge inwards because in the middle is the barges, and then you fan them out and down, kind of like it's feeding itself to the barge, and then the barge catches and starts shooting one shots off of it. Like I was waiting for some kind of like flow movement connection between the two. I thought that would have been really cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, what they did with the things they did with the bridge with choreography, there was parts of it like where they did the huge crackle where it made the outline of the whole site. So you could actually, when that was going off, you could see the pattern of the whole site. That was really cool. The use of cakes too, like for their low level, or I guess it would be more like a mid level. That was pretty cool when they used those for the shells. And you could tell, like you said, they just used like the whole cake, like they had a cake that was all comets, and they let it fly when it fit because it's a filling piece for your lower area.
Yeah.
But it complemented the shells above it. And you notice when they used that, they didn't really use shells with tails. Like they knew when and when not to use them, kind of thing.
Yeah, there were totally sections where you could kind of tell that they leaned on slices on the barges and, even on the bridge at times. And a lot of those sections, they provided those, those big impactful moments. But I guess the other thing that I really don't think about when we watch it on video, and we've got a drone that's got an insanely wide angle lens, or, we're viewing a camera with a huge wide angle lens that can see all of this stuff. This probably isn't the experience that a lot of the spectators are having. And if I remember correctly, when I was down there, I mean, depending on where you are, you're seeing this show from so many different angles. Like you might be taking it in from one of the worst possible angles downriver, where you're essentially seeing every single run on a barge sideways, but then you see the bridge head on. The drones provided us that angle where it kind of, like everything kind of kept moving.
Kitty corner kind of look at it, which gave you that whole perfect view. Yeah, totally. Yeah. There was a couple times where it did like straight at a barge. Like if you were in front of the barge kind of thing, staring right at it. Yeah. And you could kind of see the bridge on the left. I'm guessing, I don't know, because I don't know the seating out there, but that's probably the best seating. And I'm sure that's where most of the people flock to, kind of thing. Is like, that's why they do the mirrors, because whoever's on the left side of the bridge is going to see the same thing as the person on the right side of the bridge. And same with across the way on the river. But man, whoever has some of those apartments right in that area, they got the best view ever.
I love to see the view that they have up on I think it was at the Galt building. That's ground zero.
Yeah, the control board or control room, they call
control.
it.
Yeah.
I watched that interview too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What did you think about the use of the bridge?
I think it's utilitarian. I kind of noticed this the year that I went down and I took the tour of the bridge, but like I can't help every time I see a video or every time I've gone since and watched it, I always like chuckle because you notice like a lot of the single shots and some of the clusters and cross sets and mines and stuff. Like you got bouncing off the bottom of the trusses on the bridge, things like that. Did you notice that?
I didn't see too much of that though.
Yeah,
really.
You will now. You will now because so when we went and we saw the way that they had everything laid out, they've got it on kind of this, and I don't know,
like a sidewalk. Kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a sidewalk area, but I mean, don't be fooled. Like there's plenty of stuff right above it that this stuff could be shooting right into. Because I remember after seeing 4 or 5 positions, I'm like,
well, and the wind blows that direction too.
Oh yeah,
so.
I like raise my hand. I'm like, hey, I just got a question for you. This looks to me like this section here goes right into the beam. I mean, you saw that, right? And they're like, oh yeah, that's fine.
It's strong.
It's all good.
It's steel.
Yeah, it's fine. We're not gonna blow the bridge up. It's gonna be cool. But yeah, apparently it's something that happens every single year. But I always notice that when I start watching the bridge, I think every time I see this show, I can't help but watch for it. But I guess going back to your original question, like what did I think of the choreography on the bridge? And what I meant by it's utilitarian is I think it ties back into they want to make this an efficient setup. So the positions, a lot of them they're very similar in makeup. When you get a list for a firing position and you know that firing position is going to be just like the other 50 that you set up right before it, you probably are going to get that firing position set up a lot quicker than you would if you were out there doing a competition musical where every single little position may have tons of different intricacies and your product's going to be different. Your angles are going to be different. It requires an insane degree of care to make sure that it's all the same, right? So that's why I'm saying that I think this show exists somewhere in the middle. It's I wouldn't call it a pyro musical, but it's most definitely scripted. And it's most definitely choreographed to try to emphasize certain parts of the music.
Oh yeah. I guess when I was talking about the bridge, and I wasn't talking about being like, dead on with the music and stuff too. I was just talking about scripting or, making something for those runs. Like that would just, a random cool run to a song or something would be really cool in there. And in using the same product, like you said, too, not like making angles. I'm talking straight up. You could walk that bridge. And the only, I guess, angles I was talking about was the ones that fold down to the barges to kind of make it look like it's falling into it.
Yeah. And they
like
did
dominoes.
That. Like in a number of spots, they kind of did that. Like, there's bridge wide runs and there's different positions where they'll take cakes and kind of throw those up all at the same time.
Did I miss runs? I thought it was all like half the bridge went up and the other side of the bridge would go up.
There were a few runs where they ran the gamut. I mean, there were cakes where, they're comet cakes and they're kind of doing the running of the salmon thing. They did plenty of bridge wide runs where they would go, in and out or out to in, and it was really quick. So it wasn't something that was like too over the top. And they were typically all straight up when they did it. They did have runs where, they threw in some parabolic angles that were segmented. Like if you broke the bridge
like at the very beginning, they did it.
Yeah. If you throw that, like you take that bridge and then you give that thing sections, like, section 1 through 5, if you think that every single run is going to be the exact same and then it's going to be a lot of the same volleys, it wound up not being that because I think whoever designed the different segments in the show did take care to understand, like they know that even though I'm limited by the setup in the sense that, I probably can't go absolutely crazy and make this thing the most choreographed thing on the face of the planet, I'm going to break this up. So over the course of the 20-minute show, you're not seeing a ton of the exact same runs over and over and over again.
Yeah, you never really saw the same thing twice. Like the only thing it was, And they used it to break up shells. Like if they were, you know, in a certain pattern they were using of colors and stuff, they would bring in a lot of brocades to kind of like wash it out and then mix into something else, like a new color. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah. Well, and even if they take like, you know, it's like we talked about a number of episodes ago, like if you can totally take the same kinds of runs and then replace the effect that's in those runs, and they could have a completely different impact in the way that people see them.
Yeah, because it's a different effect. You had something that's shimmering or something that was like a quick comet that's just silver, and then the next one's glittering gold and glittering silver. It's going to look totally different to you.
Yeah.
Did you notice the pyro letters?
I did. I couldn't. I
think we were on the wrong side of the bridge or something. Either that or the camera from the drone we were watching like made it flip or something. Because I was trying to figure out how the letters were supposed to be. Because it looks like they shot them on whoever was from the view we had on the other side of the bridge would have been able to see the letters better. But the ones on the barge, I couldn't see what they were making whatsoever.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what those shapes are supposed to be either. That's why I'm
looking down too, though. So
yeah, I know. But even then, man, I don't know how sold
when
I am
I watched it,
on
I'm like, you know what? I kind of feel good though, because I've been trying that I spent all that money last year trying to get it right, and it's nice to be like, well, they can't do it either, so I feel good.
And I'm not sold on, like, it looks so good in software when you throw that stuff up, but when you go out and test it, like I don't think I've ever seen like the pyro printing, as these guys call it, and even the flags. Like the flags look really good, and I think the best one that I ever saw was Jim's at Skywars last year. I loved his, but all of the pyro printing period, it's really, really hard for me to determine what it is, or I'm always left after the fact thinking to myself, okay, what was that? The wind ruined it, or, but even in the calmest freaking wind, man, you get that variance in your gun. I think even if you take all the time in the world to make sure that your shot is tried and true, North Pole, 100% zero, and you're trying to make this really intricate whatever, I think you're going to get a natural variance in the angle in which that thing leaves the mouth of the gun. And then at that point, you're just kind of left to the whim of randomness.
I mean, you got to think about it. It's a flat disc that pops out. So the wind hits it, it's going to start rotating or doing something.
You get that curveball effect.
Hey, you know what? That's a really cool idea. They can make them look like, I don't want to say a bullet because that's bad, but like a pointed, more of a cone-shaped rocket kind of look. And then maybe they'll be a little straighter. Be a little harder to make, but... Just spitballing ideas here,
Hey, do me a favor, take that piece of sandpaper. Wait a minute, you want me to do what? You want me to take this piece of sandpaper and do what with this? What?
I got this, no problem. It's a burn in my hand.
Do anything for a buck.
I don't know, but they did do a good job, I thought, with matching the mood of the music with the effects that they used.
I agree with that, yeah. I agree with that. Overall, I think the flow of the show and the different effects that they chose for a lot of those segments, even though everything that you were looking at for one particular volley or segment was a lot of the same effects going up at the same time, and they're not really intermixing things, I would agree with that completely. I thought that the effects that they chose for certain music, they fit the music.
Yeah, totally. Did you see the one where... Oh God, it was like I want to say it was a country song, but it was like Nashiki kind of horsetails, but in the middle, they kind of broke these smaller peonies in between.
Was it the one where they had it was like a Varg kind of thing?
I don't know what a Varg is.
Different colors, like peony
with
like every single color in it.
Yeah, it was variegated peony. But it had the whole, the majority of it. I couldn't tell if it was coming separately, if it was like inside the horsetails that it would shoot out. And then that was kind of like a secondary delayed effect.
I noticed that one section where, because they were they were smaller breaks. They seemed.
Yeah, very tiny. They looked like a cake shot kind of thing.
Yeah,
but they were breaking at the same height. So
I think it's at just before 12-minute mark. I think is what you're talking about. We're
still in the replay Thunder Over Louisville, WDRD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. It's it starts right at like 12:08, and it looked like it breaks with it, like it surrounds.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, that's pretty cool because it was a light section, but like we talked about before, you can still have a little boom there, and that's exactly what they did. They didn't make it like extreme, but it was just enough to keep it, in that mood.
Yeah. That's a really cool layered effect, though. I can't tell if these are 3s or 4s.
That's why I can't tell what any of it is. Because they really all do look to break around the same height.
Mm-hmm. They got the good stuff there.
They got the good stuff. Well, if you watch that video, it was a bunch of Vulcan.
Is there?
Oh,
was that from this year?
Yeah, it was a guy was giving an interview, and he was going through the bunker that they had all that stuff in, and like he gave the interview next to the guy. It was that video I sent you, actually, wasn't it?
No,
I didn't send it.
The one that I spent the last hour looking at was the replay.
Oh no, this was like an interview I watched of him. But the guy walks in, he's like, and all of these are these explosives is what he calls them, not fireworks. He calls them explosives. Will be going up tonight, and all the boxes had Vulcan all over it.
You need to take this seriously, lady.
It was a lot of boxes. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. What's even funnier is when you watch this from this perspective, at first I couldn't tell how big those barges were, but then when it would kind of get a little closer, or it really lit the sky up and you could see everything, you're like, holy hell, the size of those barges, they're big. It's like the size of a Skywars field.
Yeah,
like
those are huge, man. I don't know what's the
I forgot to tell you what the bridge was.
What's a standard barge size?
No idea. But the bridge is 5,746 feet. So there's a lot of room there. I'm curious how much they actually use then.
I don't know. I noticed when they got to the end, and they did the waterfall off the bridge. I know the waterfall doesn't quite extend toward the end of the bridge, which makes sense. I mean,
yeah, your safety area.
Right. What did you think of the finale?
See, that's the one thing is it is on camera. It's washed because you can't see it. It's on camera, but in person, I'm curious what it would look like.
Oh, dude, it's like it's one of those chest thumpers. You think your guts and your heart and everything behind your chest cavities coming out of your ears.
Wait, was there salutes coming out of there too?
Yeah, they had.
I thought it was just brocades the whole time.
There was another video that I had to go watch to get the finale. Yeah. But
same
like
one.
you could, I mean, dude, like it was the wash was freaking incredible. The wash is freaking incredible.
It looked like daylight, dude.
Yeah,
it was daylight.
It's you're using a lot of brocades when through all of that smoke and all of those salutes and like the rapid blinking of your freaking eyelids, you can still make out the brocades.
That was one thing I was going to mention too, is the smoke doesn't look like it's moving that fast, but it is. And it's amazing to see how clear it was with as much stuff that's going off. I know it's a big area, but with as much stuff going off, I thought it would be a lot more smoky. But when you watch the video, the smoke's not really moving too quickly. Yeah. So I'm curious if it's just, good fireworks or
no, I'm just like, I mean, I would imagine it's, I don't know. I mean, it's a river. I don't know what the world science is on smoke moving on the river, but it's totally moving, which is really good.
Yeah, but it's moving sideways too. Oh, you know what? I just noticed they're not side by side. The barges, they're like offset a tad. Did you notice that? I just now noticed that. I
wonder if they actually anchor those or if the barge operator is sitting in there the entire time. Fighting the current. Like I cannot move. This guy is looking at me like Christopher Lloyd in Who Framed Roger Rabbit with dagger eyes. 5 degrees port.
1 degree, not 2,
Yeah,
1.
yeah, right. 1 degree, 2 degrees. Matey. Take her starboard.
I should
He's
share
got
that on the
brocades
Discord.
going on next.
Hey, man, there's a new segment for you.
A pirate segment, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right there. That was
Pirate
perfect.
segment. Hire me, mateys.
You gotta
Your
do a
sails
metal
in.
version of
Be going for a
SpongeBob.
ride.
Oh my God.
What'd you think of the show flow?
Starting off, it had its powerful moment, and then it kind of tapered, but then it started building. And to me, it seemed like it just stayed at that level consistently for the longest time. The only time it kind of came down is when it became like soft effects for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then right back to where it was before. And it stayed at that same level kind of thing. So it didn't really have too much of those up and down kind of movements, like a roller coaster feeling to it.
Having this much space to utilize, I feel like you'd really be able to explore that space and kind of take people on that emotional roller coaster. But I mean, I get it in the sense that can you imagine like getting a check thrown in front of you that's the size of, whatever the budget is for this show, and thinking to yourself, okay, well, I mean, I just gotta, like, you almost feel like you have to go pedal to the metal for 20 minutes. I mean, when you have this much space, I'm sure, your sponsor too chimes in and they're like, hey, we're basically giving you access to all of the coolest parts of our downtown. So, we really want you to go nuts for 20 minutes. So I'm sure that, over the years, they've probably developed some kind of cadence, I guess, with the city of Louisville. And, they're like, yeah, we totally want this. And we want balls to the wall for 20 minutes. We want going off on the bridges and on barges, like just keep it going. They might even see like the dark skies or those slowdowns or those braking periods as like, oh, no. We need more.
No, I mean, totally. If that's what the city's telling them to do, and like that's like what you said, the relationship that they've grown out to and figured out what they wanted to do, totally. Because we talk about that all the time. If you're getting paid to do a show, you do it like they tell you to do it. It was just my, I guess.
Yeah, dude.
You asked me my opinion. It was just an opinion.
100%. Like if you're going, like, if we're talking 100% creative and all other things don't exist and they're non-factors.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Something like this, you can absolutely create such a landscape of movement and, kind of like work to build in all of these different areas. Like it's built for symmetry. Like everything is built for symmetry from end to end on the bridges and the barges themselves too. Like I feel like there's so much that you can do to create.
Well, yeah, you have a giant horizontal platform of playground to play with. And I don't know, I mean, they can shoot cakes off the bridge, but I wonder if they're allowed to shoot 1-3 off the bridge. I would probably say no. They keep the like grams down, I'm sure. Yeah. Whatever won't damage the steel, I guess.
Yeah. Did you notice that go to like that 5-minute mark in the video? Go to like 5:30 and look at that one barge. It looks like they've got some candles that made it kicked over.
Oh, on the left side.
Do you see it? Yeah, those orange candles.
90 degrees, not to the left. That
yeah, maybe the other way. Yeah.
It's supposed to be the other way. The other 90. Your other 90. Actually, is the other one doing it? I didn't even notice. Let me look. Maybe it was on purpose. I can't see the bridges in the way.
I don't.
1, 2, 3.
Didn't look like it. That one volley, I think it was those candles were supposed to be on the other side. If it's supposed to be like the one on the other side of the bridge, it looked like everything was coming off of that left side of the barge.
The part right after that with the blue, that was a cool section. I don't know what you call it. What is that effect called? The one that has like a palm inside of it.
I think it's just it's a blue peony with a palm pistol, but it's not like it's a big Pistol, 4
Its
or 5
own
stars.
show.
That are,
Yeah.
Yep.
So what about music? How did you feel in the music? You had 20 minutes and all of those tracks.
That's a little bit of everything. That said, I think from what I could hear, it was pretty well produced too. A lot of the transitions were really well done, and they had songs transitioning into songs that I was like, man, that takes some talent. But I mean, they actually seemingly did almost mashup type stuff in spots to try to make those transitions seamless.
Could you have made them better? Tell them to call you and get a contract with you.
No. Have you ever done those mashups? It's like you might as well write a song.
No.
Might as well write an original composition. I don't know, man. This is a really, it's a special show.
It's designed for the wow. That's pretty much what it is. Because this isn't, like you said, it isn't something you'd see even around your normal 4th, unless you're going, even, you're not going to see, like in Chicago, you're not going to see something like this.
Right.
Around the 4th. You won't see anything close to what you see just on one barge kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is its own specialty kind of show. That's exactly what it is. Like you said, it's made to wow you. It's made for you just never see dark sky and just be like, holy hell, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did I just see?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do they understand how long this took to do?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, and after the design, I like new designers, they tend to grasp this after their first couple of outings. You'll go into software and you'll just go nuts with design work, right? You'll go crazy. And then you're on cloud 9 thinking to yourself, I can't wait to get this thing off the ground. It's going to blow everybody away. And then you show up at your site and then you realize everything that I've designed in, this goes over there. And, now I need to go grab my 10,000 feet of scab wire and try to make this work. Because while you're being creative in design software, you also have to always be ever cognizant of logistics when you're trying to pull that stuff off. Being a Pyro show designer, while you're trying to be creative, and you can always put that creativity in the forefront of your mind when you're laying this stuff out on the timeline, always try to set your sites up and take care when you set your sites up and you lay your sites out, and understand your tool set and your software. Know your gear limitations, know what's available to you, understand your resources, because going into that, it allows you to open up that creativity. If you have a solid grasp on what resources you have available to you, it makes it...
Yeah, because you know you have the tools to do the job.
Yes.
Or what tools you have to do the job.
Yeah, and then even, laying that stuff out too in software. Because I think it becomes second nature for designers after a certain period of time. But hopefully some people have learned it the easy way where, they've gone into it and had tutelage and understood, okay, I get why I can't throw all this stuff into one position and just go nuts. Or if you're a Finale 3D designer and you're on Hobbyist, for example, and don't necessarily have access to features like blueprinting, where you can tell every single position, you can throw all of this stuff into one position and know that the logic on the back end is going to take care of the logistical stuff for you. It's going to separate out all your single shots into single shot racks. It's going to put all your cakes of similar caliber in a cake position at that launch position. But, understanding the tool makes it easier for you to ultimately do what you need to do to get the show off of the ground. You're not going to show up to your site and panic because I didn't buy any scab wire for the show.
Here's what I need you to do. I need you to go to Home Depot and I need you to go buy me the 2-wire Cat 5 cable. Go get it right now.
Yeah, and be sure to pick up a pair of wire strippers. We're going to keep busy for the next 3 days.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Just fine.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
Scripting this, I wonder how this is done. I wonder if half of it's done and then no, because the bridge goes 2 ways with its effects. So I wonder if they build one barge. They build the show like that. And then they go, okay, now then they go back and they use the bridge to accent what they had. And then when they're building one barge show, they're making notes of like, hey, during this section, this would be kind of cool to do the bridge. And then they separate it. So pretty much one barge is one remote, another barge is another remote, and the center bridge is on its own remote as well. And it's all tied together with SMPTE.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd probably be your easiest way to manage that whole setup.
Yeah. Looking at a site like this, I don't even know where I would begin.
I don't know. Like you said, you're doing a focal point, which is one barge. Like I said, I think that's why they're left and right. So one part sees and one part sees another kind of thing, because they are mirrored. So that's what you're doing. You already know you're going to mirror it on the other side. So you just make that your focal point. And then as you're doing that, you use the bridge to accent, or like, what can I do that's going to accent the bridge and both barges at the same time, when they did like that mass crackle kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a site that's this big, that would be a challenge to try to find what makes sense as its focal point. Because in reality, you do want it to change, especially for a 20-minute show. 20-minute show is long for a fireworks show. Municipal shows, you might get 12 minutes to 15 minutes. You see some 20-minute shows, but like this is one that's this big. If I established a focal point, I would always want to take people's eyes from one point to another point. And that would be the most challenging part for me personally, would be for a site that's this big and understanding that you've got two totally separate positions that are essentially the same position, doing the same thing in two different fields of view. How do you tie those in to a centric focal point in the bridge itself? Especially if you're talking about doing some of the stuff that you were doing earlier. How you said you would, work the bridge and almost work your way onto the barges.
Yep. You could actually see, that's the thing, is I don't know how this goes, because I know the bridge is up so people can see the bridge from a distance. But I know like the main purpose of the show too is it's a big city. So you got to get, the higher effects is what you want kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But you could play with the bridge alone, I think, for like almost probably a cool minute with cakes and single shots and stuff, and do something really cool along with that. And then take your eyes off of that back to the barges kind of thing, and then intertwine the bridge here and there. Like you could really do something with the bridge alone.
Oh, completely.
Like the shapes you can make, because you could add so many wheels down the side of that bridge.
Did you notice they had some wheels?
Yeah. That's why I noticed that.
It was right at the end that I noticed. It was after that break that they had in the action. I saw one wheel go off, and I'm like, what was that? I had to rewind it for a second, because I'm like, wait a minute, why did they shoot that by itself? But then they had the whole bridge kind of had, I was like 3 or 4 of them mounted on the side. I thought it was really cool. It was an interesting effect.
I don't know if they've done this. I haven't seen it in their other shows. But one thing that made me think, like for everybody that's close to that area and can see, if they were to fill that whole river area up with those like burning flame water cakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine that? It would look like the water's on fire. That would look insane.
Yeah, it looks sweet.
I mean, actually, if they would have added that on top of the photo flash thing, it would just look like strobing red everywhere from the ground up. Because, I mean, really, you have another platform to play with there, too.
Yeah.
Don't know. There's so much you can do there, man. Logistically, though, I'm sure that they've done it long enough. They have it down. They know exactly what to do.
I'm sure to a degree, the site map for this, I would imagine it gets sent out to the designers, and the designer, either that or the designers have been doing it for so long. They're just like, so what are we doing? Are we expanding the site this year? Are we going to do anything different? Or are we kind of working within the confines of what we've usually done? And that might be the case. But I mean, with something that's this big, even if you have the same site year over year over year over year, you can find some really cool things to do with it.
When you were there, the bridge that's close to that bridge, is that open to people, or is that open to public?
I don't think they get shut down because they're not necessarily close to the fallout zone, but I know the spots that do get shut down, cause crazy congestion. Because when we tried to get out of that place, man, it took an hour and a half to get out of the city.
I guess it was more on questioning if they could even expand the show out too. Like if they split those barges in half and made 2 positions on both sides kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been there in person, so it's hard to tell like what it looks like, visually seeing it in person, how big that area is.
Yeah, it's large.
Oh, that was something else I had in my notes. Not in a bad way, but I was purposely seeing because of how much stuff is going off. I mean, imagine, I really wish I knew the Q count on this because it's got to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were talking about earlier, logistically putting this together, there was only a few little pieces where I was like, oh, well, that show wasn't supposed to be there, but only because I was looking for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And for the most part, there wasn't anything. And you're like, man, that it takes a lot, especially like if you said 8 guys, 5 days, like, holy hell.
Yeah.
If you mess up 1 cue.
Yeah.
I know people.
I'm sure there's a degree of ribbing that goes on after the fact too. Because like with 8 guys, I think it's really easy to say, yeah, well, Charlie was at position 4, so he was on the north end of the bridge. So
I wear a GoPro camera right on my chest, so you know exactly. No, wasn't me. Look,
they got personal locators that start beeping at them if they're in the place they're not supposed to be.
Scan cards.
Beep 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 beep. This is Gary's section.
You know what? You were talking about slices as well earlier. I think there was only a few at the beginning that I really saw where they used. It was like sliced cakes, though. It wasn't slices because they were randomly going off. I didn't really see a lot of just sliced pieces, like module slices.
Yeah. I want to say, and like even on the barges too, like when I saw like they actually had single shots, they had a ton of mine wipes and some single shot wipes coming off the barges. And
I think that's 1-3 though. I don't know if that was.
I'm quite sure.
Okay.
I mean, because that seems like some of it was pretty low level, but for the most part, like some of those mines were up there.
Yeah, and the comments that they were using, and some of them you could tell how bushy they were.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I had to be 1-3. Mm-hmm. Plus, they had that they fall, they swoop. You know what I mean? 1-3 always shoots up and then stops and has that curve kind of thing.
Yeah.
Overall, wish I got to go down there for one time.
It's a good show.
Let's plan it next year.
Cool.
A Friendsgiving friend trip.
A Friendsgiving
we'll stay at Chad's house.
In April.
Yeah, Chad's house.
Uh-huh. I'll stay at Chad's house if he's not loaning out his gear to a bunch of people. Then he's stuff to do. God, I'm so tired, man.
I can tell.
I need something else to drink.
Why don't you ever pick up the phone? I've got something to rescue. I was so endless in your brain.
Guys, there's so much knowledge in here.
Ready legs, ready legs, ready legs, and I'll give it to me.
Give it.
All right, we got 3 this week. Hold on, I need to turn my volume back up. I need to fix this stuff. I'm fed up with technology.
What? Hold on. Record yourself saying that.
I did, and it's recorded. 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 20 seconds. Bo said, "I'm fed up with technology." Discord did me in. That was it. Let's see. First one. All right. We got 3 this week. 2 are from Anonymous. And then
just save it. Wait a second. Okay.
Oh
my God.
To the next available representative, please press 1. Para español, por favor, oprima 2.
Oh. At least they were inclusive.
Oh, that's funny.
At least they were inclusive. Yeah, I would say it never gets old, but I feel like that's recycled. I feel like they took the same one that they submitted like 6 or 7 weeks ago, and they're like, you know what? It's been a minute since we asked these idiots about their scooters and their extended warranties. So I'm going to pitch this sucker down about 12 semitones and then give it right back to them.
Well, it doesn't make sense anymore though, because we need Segway.
Yeah, I know.
Insurance.
I haven't ridden my scooter in I don't know how long. And I got a Gigway now, so. All right. Second one's from Anonymous.
Hello. I was just wondering if I could get your vote. Is there a way to vote for Rhythm as the best Friday podcast in the land?
Ooh.
Big fan of it. And yeah, I was just wondering if there was some way I could vote for this podcast, love your content. It's right up my alley. Real goofy and fun, and I just love it. Wish you guys the best.
Oh, well, I am so happy that you are enjoying the Rhythm Pyro podcast.
Wow. Are we overseas?
I have no idea. Well, I don't know. There's a couple of Facebook groups that they like,
that we are, yeah.
Yeah, that we're in. It's like Marmite. That's from Australia. That guy didn't sound Australian to me, but I do believe if we
appreciate
were ever,
it though.
we appreciate it.
Oh.
I don't know if there's any contests or polls that you could vote for us in, but I don't know. Maybe go join the Discord and I'll make a poll in the Discord, and it'll be like we'll just have one podcast on there because I suppose it would be rude to put other podcasts in there too. Besides that, that's a problem that I don't want to deal with.
Oh, Jesus.
What is this? This is insensitive. All right. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. Appreciate that you enjoy the content.
I wonder if he was the previous Anonymous.
What did I tell you about doing that?
I just said I was curious.
What did I tell you?
I can't help it.
All right, boys, listen up. I had something to call and talk about this week, but dadgummit, Boozazzy and y'all, I done forget. My dog got out just a second ago. I had to go and chase the dog out. When I get back to the house, then my kids got out, so I just had the little doodle dog running down the street. Now I got the little mullet baby running down the road. He ain't got no clothes on. Well, let me rephrase that. He ain't got no pants on. He's got a shirt, he's got his underbreeches, and he's got his Crocs on. But that's about all he's rocking. He's rocking in his underpants running down the road here. I was inside trying to script my pyromusical. Y'all been talking about how you can't find your motivation. Well, let me tell you what, there ain't much more motivating for pyro than a daggum Croc-rocking, mullet-running kid down the street chasing a doodle. Get after it, boy.
I'm picturing the...
Wait, hold on. Did you hear what he just said? Your motivation? Is this the last one you were talking about?
The what? No, I don't think so. This one just came in. I think this was the last one that came in. Hold, please. I'll tell you. Yeah, this one came in yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And then the other two, actually, I think the one that I missed was the first one.
Oh, okay.
I think I was supposed to play that one last week. And then somebody must have reached out to Jamie and said, somebody's angry with you because you missed a voicemail.
I know. I'm like, who was he? He's like, I can't tell you. I'm like, this is what?
I pictured Joe Dirt. Remember that scene where he's talking about his little kid? He's running down the street with a mullet. Oh, God. No way, man. It was Van Halen, not Van Hagar.
Oh, my God. I love that movie.
I don't know.
I want to meet that guy. That guy
sounds
too. Really...
I just, what I want, my picture perfect fairy tale meeting of this gentleman at any event. If you ever see us at an event, please approach us from behind so we don't see you coming, and then immediately start like just speak, just talk like that. That's how I want to meet you. He's onto something though, man. I don't know what it is. I'm not feeling the motivation.
The urge this year? I know. Me too. I only did the one, and the other ones I'm working on, I'm still just like I touch it and then I go away. That sounded weird.
It's a tale as old as time, though. That's kind of how it works. You touch it, and then you stop touching it, and it goes away. We got that.
It is way too late.
It's insanely late. See what happens when we don't have to coordinate with 3 people. It comes down to the 2 people that just don't care when we start. And then by the time we start, I can't even think straight. 9 o'clock or 9:30 rolled around and I started watching the video, and I was watching and taking all these notes. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is going to be easy to do a choreography review of Thunder Over Louisville. And then I get through and I have like 4 paragraphs worth of notes. And even having 4 paragraphs worth of notes, how many times during this podcast you think I referred to that sheet of notes? It wasn't a whole lot. So I spent essentially 45 minutes writing paragraphs of crap, and then I didn't look at it but twice.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Sorry.
No,
I went through my list. There was a couple more that I missed.
Well, you're probably better.
You covered them.
When you do notes, do you do... So I'm long-winded, if you haven't noticed. So when I start, I don't do bullet point notes. Normal people, they're like, oh, okay, I want to talk about this, so I'm going to make a bullet point. No, I go into 7 or 8 sentence paragraphs, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to read that. How am I supposed to read that while I'm just riffing? It can't be done.
No, I had mine as set up as like structure.
Yeah.
And I put mirrored as pretty much like a thing for me to remember. For flow, and I put like used effects to match mood, to match music, to match time. It was like bullet points, I guess, like you said, just to talk about. And then like things that I noticed about the bridge, like the strobes and stuff. Because I was like, man, if I don't do this, I'm going to be like, because it's so much. So even if you watch it a couple of times, you're like, I'm not going to remember this whole show.
Yeah. Well, and it's a lot to take in, 20 minutes worth of show, especially 20 minutes worth of show
from a drone.
Yeah. Well, from a drone that moves the way that it moves. And I'm not talking about the drone. I'm talking about like just the flow of the show, because the show is, I don't know, what's the best way to describe this show? Because it's not like a competition grade pyromusical where, you're always consistently trying to do something new throughout the entirety of the show. There's function to this too. There's efficiency in the way that this has to be set up. So the show tends to flow, but it flows kind of a lot of the same way with different effects throughout the show, which totally understandable. But, after a certain period of time, it's like you kind of, I'm latched on and I'm hoping to see those moments where it's going to break up. It's going to break up.
You're waiting for that.
Do something different. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to stay like I said earlier, we talked about like staying at that level 7 and just staying there kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it would die off for a second, but you're almost waiting for it to drop down to like a 4 and then like a 10 section happen and then trying to build down and then like an 8 section happen, step it kind of thing, little builds and actions.
Yeah.
But again, it's hard to see that from the not sitting in one location. You've been there, so you have a little more idea, I guess, than me. But I still, till I could make a fair judgment, I'd like to be there and see it.
I can't wait until you can come because while you're there, I'm going to be screaming in your ear every volley, just different colors.
Green, that was yellow.
That was red. And that one was orange.
That was purple, Bo. Don't lie to me.
That was fuchsia.
Red. Nope. Sea blue.
Sea blue. There we go. And so at 3 minutes in, we're going to be arguing for the rest of the 18 minutes. And then everybody's going to be like, oh, well, this is the most unenjoyable experience ever. Took 3 minutes for Bo and AJ to get into an argument about what color they were looking at.
I believe you. I'll wear that shirt down there, colorblind.
God, I don't remember. Oh, I was going. Yeah, it's neither here nor there. I was playing with an app the other day that had a colorblind mode, and I thought of you. But it had nothing to do with fireworks at all. But I was like, oh, how about that?
I didn't even know that there was such a thing. I knew on video games, but that's it.
There's a few people that care about you. And that developer did.
That developer did.
Good job, Zambelli. You did good. This is a fantastic show. I can't imagine the time and resources that it takes to put this together.
Yeah, Yeah,
Well done.
I can't either. I couldn't. Just doing the whole transportation of getting everything where it needs to be just on the barges alone would be intense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And getting it, did you notice you can see it when it lights up, like all the racks that they have on there, they're giant pods. So like they have to know exactly how to fit that stuff on there perfectly. That setup alone is probably intense.
Yep. All right. You got anything else? Are we done?
I don't have any news. There's not much still going on. Did you notice the forums or the Facebook's still kind of dead lately?
I know. I'm telling you,
I think
man.
people
I
are
don't
just
think
pissed
like
off.
it's. Maybe. I don't know. It seems this is the time of the year where it usually lights up, but it's not necessarily the case. So,
So we're not the only ones.
Yeah, we're not the only ones that are tired. Motivate me, please, somebody.
Man, I guess Chad was the only one that's been done, and he's like ready to go.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you would have been here tonight, you could have told us all about it. Then I imagine him telling us all about it would have been like, "Hey, well, how far are you guys?" And I would have been like, "Shut the up."
So what's can I ask you what's your biggest thing? Is it more on like writing the music or finishing the song that you want to do, or is it more on the design part, or is it just like I kind of want a year off? Or is that something you don't want to talk about on the air?
No, I don't care. I mean, I think it's a culmination of basically 2 jobs. Day job, audio
3.
engineering, and then 3 jobs if you count the hobby stuff, and this is like the podcast very much falls under that umbrella, and then like the Lake Show is like 4th on the list of priorities, but eventually it's got to bubble up. But for it to bubble up, I have to blow through other things, and the most that I can do on the audio engineering front is just try to blow through as much of that workload as I can, as quickly as I can, and then eventually it's going to get there. But like as far as music, man, I have no idea. Like I got a few songs written, and I'm not really feeling any of them.
Do the theme, man.
Do the theme. I don't know. The Power Rangers show when I did like
this one, the Rhythm Pyro podcast theme.
Oh yeah.
You sent that so long ago, and the first time I heard it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's mixed, but actually that's my kind of show because it'd only be 30 seconds, 45 seconds, because that's literally all that's written of that song. It's not even a song. Yeah.
It's longer than that. It's over a minute.
It's
no, you're making me look.
That'd be about it. I feel like there'd be a lot of people that'd be disappointed. But to be quite frank with you, I'm okay with rolling out a 2-minute show. Because in reality, the Lake Show is never supposed to have been like, sure, I like it to be a whole song, but I wind up cutting the song anyway. So if I'm writing the song, I don't want to, this sounds terrible, but I feel like it gives me an excuse to just not write a whole song. I can write a song that's got a hook, an intro, maybe a pre-chorus, and a chorus, a bridge, and a solo, and then that's it. Just refrain back to the chorus, and then it's over. I don't have to write a second verse. And that's like, let's be real. How many times have you sat down and cut a second verse or a third verse or shortened the final chorus out of a fireworks show? Right. Yeah, so it's like, I'm writing music to go with fireworks shows. So why not? Let's if I'm going to do it right.
Just follow the pattern.
Okay, I don't need it. Second verse, don't need that.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, there you go. Take this song and then just there's a cool idea. You got all those other little clips of songs and stuff that you've sent me over the years. Find a way to do a mashup of those, like to slide from one into another.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work.
They're already done though, right?
They're all different keys though. And if they're all different keys, then it's going to take it's a pain in the butt to try to get them to mesh.
No, I mean, well, I guess what I meant more like a mashup is like if you had one playing And then as that one's like ending, kind of like the Rhythm Power Podcast theme. What is the name of that one again? It's the techno or
Transcore is, I think,
Transcore.
Working title.
So it has that long little ring, ring out, that ding.
Yeah.
Like you could have that and have it go into like some kind of like thing, like a waved
little one note transitions like that. It's not hard at all to get that to transition into something else. But like, even if I did Transcore in and of itself, if I did Transcore and then transition that into another song, at that point, I'd probably be
where you need to be.
Yeah, but how well does it flow? And do I feel like I'm going to be happy taking two songs that don't really have any relevance to each other, stitching them together, and then shooting a show to it? Because like I feel like it's not themeless. I mean, all of the shows that I've shot for the most part have been like they're focused around either one piece of music or they have a running theme. You know, like the Power Rangers show was all like covers of Power Ranger tunes that I put a bunch of like voiceovers over, and it worked out really well. Like it was a fun little show. And then, you know, like Angel Wings, Neon Skies, Blinding Lights, like it's all one core focus. I don't know how I would feel. Who knows? Maybe I would do it and then I'd be like, you know what? It's okay. I don't feel so bad. Maybe I don't need to be such a...
I guess it's, if you have other songs that, if you have ones like that, you're like, you know, I like this one and I like this piece, but I don't know which one I'd really want to play with the most. If you did that, maybe after watching that, you're like, you know what? I'll actually do the full version of it then. And that's the one you pick for next year kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And that's totally true. I mean, that can happen, but you know, equally,
we can make it a contest.
Equally, make it a contest. Yeah. Make it a contest. I thought about taking the songs, and they're unmixed and they sound like shit, but I thought about taking those songs and then putting them in the Discord and having people vote on them. Just say it's like, oh, well, what song should Bo use to design the lake this year?
See, that's cool. That's kind of like what I try to ask those people on to do, but
yeah,
it's always the same thing. A thunderstruck, not happening.
How are you doing? You got to be overloaded with, not overloaded, but I mean, how's things going with PGI and all the other shows?
So I got to still meet up with Doug so we can get things situated for. That's kind of up in the air right now too, of what's going on with that, because I don't really know what we're going to have effect wise use here coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I finished. You saw that one. That one kind of just flew out, but that one's more copy paste for the most part. You know, it's like change it up, copy this part, change it up kind of thing. So everything else I touch, it's just, I don't know, man. I start playing with it and getting into it and making stuff, and I'm like, I just don't feel it. Like I don't want to do it, and they're not like I used to, or like you'd sit in front of it and you're like, I'm addicted. I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I really have to pee, but I'm not getting up. I'm going to finish this part.
I'll pee my pants before I let this creative thought leave me.
Now I just sit there and I listen to a part for like 15 minutes. I'm like, why can't I think of what I want to do here? And that's where I'm at. I don't know what it is. And then, but it's weird. Like every few days or something, I'll get a few minutes where like, I'll start making something. And then I'm like,
breaking out of it's difficult, dude. I mean,
like you said, though, I think it's because of all the other things that you know about too that are like going on, that I'm just focusing is so hard. It's the same thing with, like you were saying, it's just so hard to focus because you have so much other stuff going on that you're pulling your hair out.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think it's good. After so many years, when I sit down in front of the design software, I want to be creative, but I want to do something that's going to resonate so much with me personally that's the stuff that always lit my fuse. That's a two-way street too, because you can easily sit down in front of the software and get to a point where you're like, F this, I'm done. I don't want to even touch this stuff because everything that poured out of me the last 3 or 4 days was so like just such a heap of garbage that am I even good at this? But this year, because I've not done it, I can empathize with you in the sense that it's hard to find your creative inspiration if you're not feeling it. You know how much it can resonate if you do something really cool. You do something really cool on that timeline and you're like, holy shit, wow, this is cool. Like I've never, like, I feel like I have grown in just the last half an hour or 45 minutes or 2 days or 10 days or however long it took to make this one little section work. That's something that can be inspiring, but it's that constant drive to try to always push myself to be a little, like just a little different and a little new and a little fresh and do something cool. Yeah, I hate to use the stupid cliche that everybody uses. We're like, oh, I want to do something nobody's ever done before. You know, in reality, like this, you go out there and you watch some of these like international shows, like these people, they wipe the floor with, you know, us and our little hobby. And like, I would say that we're good at like, as far as domestic designers go, I think like the hobby segment's really good because like the commercial guys, they'll spend time doing really intricate stuff when they get on the international or the competition stage. But for the most part, it's not where they spend a bunch of their time. So, you know, they do what they do to sustain their business. And that's the cost effective way of doing this. We do this because we're fucking crazy. We're nuts.
Want to blow our money up.
Yeah, we're absolutely nuts. And this is where we get our jollies and we want to do something really cool. But like you go out and you watch these guys on the international stage doing their thing and the stuff is so awesome to watch. And the way that they use their creativity, it's it's inspiring for me to look at those guys and say, all right, I'm stuck with my little 5-position shoot site and I can't figure out what to do here. And this person, you know, this designer in, you know, a corner of the world in a country, hailing from a country that I've never even heard of, you know, is putting up a show on an international stage that looks like this. And they've got, you know, it's not all that much bigger of a venue. So like, you know, albeit they might have access to some really cool stuff that we don't necessarily have access to, but nonetheless, man, I think that kind of stuff in and of itself can be really inspiring.
I don't know. I try not to watch anything right now. If I do that, then like, I feel like I'll be like, you know what, that looks kind of cool. Let me try to do something with that. But then that drives me to that, like, I just want to come up with it kind of thing. And if it's already been done by somebody, oh, well, it came up in my head at this time kind of thing. This is the first time I really watched something big, I guess, like that to watch. Like, I don't really usually watch those things beforehand or around this time to think of something. I don't know. It's just the music, man. I just want to feel like I felt before. It's just the music and it's me just letting me come out, I guess, kind of thing. Like you said, you know, it's representative of you. But I feel like maybe it's also too, is you just do the amount of shows and stuff that's been going on for the last few years. It's just so much that like you can only put out so much before you feel like you have to like recopy some of your stuff, not like songs, but like designs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it almost to this year, kind of like I said earlier, that copy paste thing, go simple. I went simple on it and that script went fast, but I have a hard problem with that. For that one, for some reason, it was short pieces. I'm like, okay, copy paste. I'm like, you know what, this is decent. I actually kind of like this, but it's not like that on the other songs. They all have to have more to them. And having me look at something, and like you said, it's like garbage. Like I want impact moments and things like that. Like those are the moments I feel. But when I start to build on that, I don't feel like putting anything on the timeline. I don't know how to put it. It's just the strangest feeling, dude.
It's depleting. And I say depleting in a sense that, you know, when you put your heart and soul into something creative, like this, something that at the end of the day, really is, it's meaningless. We're not making any money doing this. We're just doing it because we like to do it. But you pour your heart and soul into it, and you do it for so long that after a while, you might feel like you're getting in your own way. Because I know I feel like that quite a bit. I feel like I get in my own way when I sit down and I'm actually starting to work stuff out. That's the point in which I feel like the rubber's got to hit the road, because if I don't, it's going to be a year that I'm not really going to be feeling it. Thankfully, I've not had too many of those years where I felt like I roll a design out. Like there's been plenty of years where I roll a design out and I was proud of it going in. And then after it was over, I was like, that's terrible. Why was that? Like, it was never good. But yeah, I never felt like that going in. But then again, I don't think I've ever had a show where I felt uneasy going into the show and felt like, like Ellery felt, where he's like, oh, this is going to suck compared to everybody else's. But then it doesn't. I never had that. I always felt like I was going in with something good. But it's the only reason I say that is it's difficult to sit down in front of the design software when initially I just feel like I'm in a place where it's like, if I put anything down on a timeline right now, like I don't know what's going to come out. I don't know what's going to come out. I don't know if it's going to be good. I've been in so many other modes except for choreography since Octoblast. I mean, last thing I put something on a timeline was October of last year. So like that's nothing new though. I think people do tend to take breaks, but I think as far as hobbyists go, I feel like I'm kind of an outlier in that I don't spend a bunch of downtime doing that stuff. It's either because the downtime doesn't exist or I'm just off engaged in something else. So I always tend to feel like, I don't know, maybe like imposter syndrome, I guess, when I finally do getting around to opening up Finale 3D and then tossing stuff on a timeline. I mean, it takes a minute to understand, hey, you do remember how to do this. You do remember how to do this. You understand all of the things that go into putting a show up, separating the creative from the administrative and the logistical. And like, it's just, there's too many switches, it feels like.
Yeah, like it feels like you turn them all on at once because you think of all of them at one time and you're like, why can't I just turn on this one and then I'm okay.
Yes, exactly. Because even then, that feels like I would ease into it. You feel like if you can flip on one switch or two switches or three switches, that, you're, by the time I get in front of the software, I'm not going to think that I'm an imposter because I can still do this. Because you would think that doing the podcast, this was enough to keep me personally completely interested in fireworks year round. And I am. I love fireworks with all my heart, and I will do fireworks as long as I am, God willing, able to. But I never thought like doing all this and being so engaged with it and coming around to beginning of May. And I don't have so much as one, a song, but two, even a thought in the back of my mind as to what kind of product I want to use. And
usually by this point, you've already hey, I have a color that I want to do, or you have something already, and that dictates what you're going to do for your song, like what you're going to write about, how you're going to be able to, you have a thought, right? This is the color. Here's what I want to do with it. So now I need a song to make it so that I can do those things. So that's if you're not feeling that, that's why you're not even done with the music or haven't touched it, is because you have no idea what you really want. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. I don't do pirate metal. I don't just scrap everything I've got. I don't do pirate metal.
Oh, what is the name of that song I don't even remember the name of that game I used to play. The one I sent you where you put the glasses on, you chop the little blocks with music.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh God. What is it called? The VR game.
Fruit Ninja?
No.
No?
The music one where you play with the VR with the swords. Oh, come on, man.
Oh, yeah. When you posted my fat picture in Discord, Katie was like, well, why? She's like, what are you doing? Because I like immediately picked up my phone and I started going through a whole bunch of pictures. She's like, what are you doing? You just like
fat picture. What are you talking about?
When you, my what does that even mean? Fat picture? Because Katie looked at that and
just throw mine up with my shirt off. It's your.
She's like, God, you're really. I didn't realize you were that fat. I'm like, well, I'm not. This is an old picture. And then, but then she's like, what are you doing in your thing? I'm like, I'm looking for that stupid video that he sent me where he's prancing around his living room on his VR goggles. He's like, better not share this with anybody. You're lucky though, because I can't find it. I lost interest after about 8 minutes. I'm not as committed as you when it comes to getting the sick burning.
You're gonna have to go back like, was that 4 years? That's great.
Man. All right, man.
That's fine. You could have done that. That would have been funny.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
If I still got it, I'll post it for you. I'll be like, courtesy for my buddy.
No, it's not going to make me feel better if you make fun of yourself. You have to let me make fun of you.
All right, I'll send it to you.
Send it to me. Here you go. Here you go, man. All right. Stop talking about it.
You stop talking about it. I want to keep talking about it, though. That's the thing, is I want to feel good just so I can talk about the damn thing.